All right, it's just preparing to stream, so it should be live momentarily.
Cool.
This is exciting. This is our first episode.
Yeah, this is big. This is big.
All right, I think we are live.
Brilliant. So we're on with our. We don't want to say any secret passwords now. We're live, yeah?
We definitely are past that point. I have no secret passwords or secrets, like code secrets.
Oh yeah, code secrets, yeah, or life secrets, yeah, definitely.
Definitely not on this episode. Maybe later, but not this one.
So this is the AWSome Podcast trailer. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at AWS announcements, walkthroughs of solutions, build it with you projects, and we're also going to talk generally about the AWS community as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
It's exciting. Like this is something that we've just been talking about for a little bit, and now we're actually making it happen. So this is cool.
we're actually on there, yeah. So that's good. Can I actually see us on the YouTube now? That's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to look at the video, see if it's up there.
Yeah,
but it's
not. If you check Slack, I just dropped the link in there.
Excellent. Cool. So that is actually me. It's like kind of a recursion thing, really.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're slightly behind though. The YouTube's slightly behind on us.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So all I need to do is get a video of myself watching myself, and then we can. We can.
You really have met that. What was that movie? It was Inception, right? Where you can see yourself seeing yourself.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. Fantastic. So that's gonna be good.
Totally.
Lots of fun to be had. Great. I will let you. So you're gonna do the intro? Do you want to do that?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for tuning in. So this is the AWSome Podcast, and we are building this. We are 3 cloud app development coders, programmers, builders, and we're just excited to talk about tech. We met because we're all AWS community builders, so we have a real passion for AWS solutions, cloud, technology, and building. And something that we wanted to do this year was create a podcast, live stream, vlog, and really just share sort of the inner workings behind what all this tech looks like. Personally, we can speak from personal experience about there's a lot of, talking in tech, but then there really isn't that behind the scenes of how do these things actually work? Like we have all these apps that we, maybe take for granted on our phones or our computers or, Chrome extensions, but, how do they really work? And oftentimes they're probably powered on the cloud, probably with AWS or one solution within their thousands and thousands of solutions that they offer. So we're really excited to share more of what, it actually takes to build some of these solutions. And I'll kick it off to my colleague, Tom, who is on my left, but in the screen probably is. Oh, actually, yeah. I flipped my camera, so I always have to point, but it's the opposite of where I'm actually pointing. So yes, I'm technically pointing to the right, but on the left, I believe, is where Tom will show up.
Oh, I see. Right, yeah.
Yeah. I flipped the screen because of my poster,
cool.
So it didn't. Yeah. Stuff wasn't backwards.
Cool. Yeah. So I agree, Brian. That's great. So we're definitely one thing I'd add is that we're coming from a bit of I wouldn't say an interested kind of. So we're quite early on our journey, aren't we? So that's quite interesting for people, isn't it? Because we've got that insight of we've perhaps had some experience with AWS, but we're still relatively new. So we're not going to presume that you the viewer, we're not going to presume that you know how to set up an EC2 instance, because we did learn it relatively recently. We do know how to set up an EC2 instance just about, but we recognize that might be new to some of us. So yeah, I mean, we're keen to look at a range of things. S3, deploying EC2s, as I say, load balancers, data and databases. I think you mentioned, Brian, as well.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's a bit of an area that you're focused on, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's especially relevant for app development, making, serverless applications. Oftentimes, you're working with data to some degree, shape, or form, whether that's, user accounts or, uploading data to S3 buckets and then storing
Mm.
that on behalf of users. Metadata related to IAM roles for, what users can access your application and what they can do, what they can't do. So, yeah, I'm really interested in data, and obviously I have a background in blockchain, so of course data is super interesting to me, and how
Lovely.
you can store it, how you can hash it, how you can put it in a ledger, make it immutable, share it across different systems, make it interoperable. So there's a lot of cool things we could talk about from data too.
Yeah, definitely, I'd agree, because like a lot of the stuff I've been doing has been like transferring data, so it's really kind of beginner stuff, kind of API calls, and then transferring from data from one format to another, and AWS has proven to be very useful in that kind of workflow. So that's been really nice, actually. The ease with which you can gain access to a database, and also S3 buckets, etc., to save files, and the lack of the relatively low cost as well, isn't it? That allows us to make use of these resources quite effectively as well, and even experiment on our own, as well as at work. So that's been really good. And yeah, it's massive, really. It's such a huge, I'm sure it's been said already, but it's it has been said in the past, but it's a massive kind of boost. I suppose, when did you first start using the AWS products? Would you say, when was the first time for you?
Yeah, I'd say the first time for me was a couple years ago. So I was in this accelerator. Tom, I know you already know the story, but yeah, my university, my alma mater, Boston University, they had an accelerator for young entrepreneurs that wanted to learn how to build and how to build a startup, build a business, build the next unicorn. So it was really exciting and inspiring. And I have this whole story about how I was able to like create the design, because I had a creative background behind like this amazing pitch deck and this foolproof business plan, but I didn't know how to code at the time. And this was when I was a senior in college. So sort of the conversation was, well, if you want to build tech, you might have to learn this type of stuff. So that was when I first learned about what cloud computing was, because I was like, oh, an application? Like, what does that mean? A database? What is that? So that was when I was introduced actually to AWS and how you could, you don't need a server room, and you don't need to take up a room of, a house or a building to have all the data stored. You could do all this in the cloud. And that was really inspiring to me. And that was really my first exposure to it. But I'd say I was learning a little bit about it, but I didn't really understand how to leverage it. And I think there's like difference. It's like you can kind of know the services and the solutions and that type of stuff, but then can you actually build with it? So the past couple of years has been really journey exploration into, oh, okay, there's these solutions and these services, but how do you actually use them? And how do you use them correctly? Those are like the industry best practices, which I do at this point now sort of realize you need, experience, and you need time to figure out what's the best way to do things. And then you get more comfortable, muscle memory and all that stuff. That's kind of my exploration into cloud. So the past few years has been really a journey into that. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, no, definitely. This, when you mentioned with the servers in one room, that makes me think of Silicon Valley, of course. That
Oh my
comedy.
gosh.
So I was just thinking about, yeah.
With Son of Anton with
Yeah,
Gobo, like in
it's
the
quite
server room.
amusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so kind of that's definitely. I think even at the end of that, they mention AWS, don't they? So passing on the baton, as it were.
It's actually funny because they if anyone's listening to this, so their whole thing is they're trying to negotiate to get Azure, and how it's too expensive for them to afford, so they have to like negotiate. And I was actually watching that episode last night, and Jared has to like be the sales manager to try to negotiate down
Yeah.
their deal. So it's just kind of funny how like back then, like cloud has always been, the way to go. It's just, yeah, it's just funny how it actually wasn't AWS, but it was Azure. But maybe AWS
Definitely.
shows up later. At least where I am right now, Azure was brought up.
Cool. Yeah, we've got I think we've got a few coding comedy things in the UK as well, but Silicon Valley is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely that is such a powerful tool, isn't it? Really, this ability to network, and we can hammer that as well. I mean, I started with coding. I started with well, I was a teacher actually for a few years, and I built a website with a friend. Yeah, help from a friend, really, not on my own. Had vague business ideas as well, and I was wanting to kind of, for my students, it was a text translation, like so that people could click on the word, and then that would give you like a translation immediately of the word, like a dictionary. Yeah, I got the idea from Perseus, which is this online resource for. Which is a really powerful online resource for ancient Greek and Latin, etc. So that was quite inspiring, and yeah, I think I mistakenly thought that the analytical skills from Latin, Greek, and languages might help with coding. But yeah, it was kind of a little bit. It was helpful a little bit, but I'm definitely focused now on algorithms, recursion, learning about networking as well, and discrete maths, etc. So there's so much. I mean, did you realize how wide a topic it was when you first started coding? Or
Not at all.
no?
We were literally just talking about this. I remember distinctively when I was in, that accelerator and I'm in university, and I started learning HTML and CSS, and then I thought I was like getting savvy with it because I was like integrating JavaScript at that point, and it's like, oh, I'm adding animations, I'm adding images and photos, and I felt like a boss. I mean, it's empowering, right? When you start learning things and the code works and it's not, erroring or failing. That's kind of exciting. And then I went to my first hackathon, and amazing experience. So technically my first hackathon was Hacktoberfest, run by the Docker community with what was it? What's is it DigitalOcean? That's who runs it.
Yeah, I think I saw you had a DigitalOcean t-shirt, didn't you? A couple of days ago. Yeah.
Their t-shirts are the best. Like best way to learn Git and GitHub and contributing to open source. And then you get a free t-shirt if you reach a certain number of commits, which is like awesome, right? Free swag. Who doesn't love that? So that was technically my first hackathon, but my real first in-person hackathon, this is way before COVID, was ETH Boston. So I like apply. You had to apply. So I applied, and it was run by the ETH Global team. So they had all these speakers that were coming in, and these were from the blockchain industry. These were like big companies like Coinbase, Binance, like the bigs of the bigs. And I was like so inspired. I was like, oh my gosh, I have the chance of a lifetime. This is so inspiring, and they chose me. And And then I go there, and then I have my HTML and my CSS and my JavaScript hat on, and I'm like, I'm ready to code. And I did not know what Yarn was. I did not know what NPM was. I did not know what node modules was. I honestly equate it to like feeling like I was literally knowing nothing. And there was this guy at the hackathon, and he was and I forget how I interacted with him, but he was one of the mentors. His name was Joe, and he was at Aztec Protocol. And man, Tom, this guy like sat with me for hours. And my computer at the time, I did not have like my MacBook or anything, or work computer. I had this very, very slow HP like Lenovo laptop that was from eons ago. And it took so long to install Yarn and Node. And man, this guy just sat with me for hours and walked me through everything and helped me understand like package compilers and package managers and basically how all this code works and how you integrate to a cloud or, a DevOps environment and all of these things. And I did not know really what I was getting into, because you only know what you know. And then it kind of takes an experience like that for you to be like, wow, there's a lot. But the inspiring thing is, look what all these other hackathon people, these hackathon teams are building. Look at what's possible. Look what's out there. And that was really where I was really just kind of thrown into the thick of it. But it was exciting because at that point, I kind of had a path of, I knew what I needed to learn. And Joe, I mean, he really set me up for success, in my opinion, because when you want people to grow, you help them, right? You spend maybe hours helping them and teaching them what they need to know, because if they don't see what's out there, they're going to get stuck, right? And I was so thankful for meeting him, because he really just helped me see what was out there, but also inspired me to say, okay, this is going to seem like a lot right now. There is a lot, but you got to start somewhere. And that was really at that hackathon point, was for me just starting and realizing, okay, I really don't know quite a lot, but let me learn and let me grow. And it's all possible, because you get to see people and you interface with people, and they said, I learned how to, code in, a month or a couple months, and now I'm here. And then a couple months later, and now I'm here. So it's always about positive growth. What about you, Tom? I'm curious, because you already know my story, but
no, well, definitely. I think it's great. I mean, it's one thing very impressive with you, Brian, is your can-do attitude and your positive approach. That's massive. I think, and I'm not surprised that Joe, or this Joe chap, seems a very nice guy. And very helpful and very patient, but certainly if someone's enthusiastic, they're interested, and they want to learn, and also they're listening. At least if they're listening to what you're saying, and perhaps whether it's taking notes or at least not getting you to repeat yourself too often, then I'm sure that then it's a pleasure. Definitely finding a mentor is really useful for improving, isn't it? I think I've found a few in my time, quite a wide range of people, including you, really. Other kind of techniques which we were going to use for the podcast as well. So that's been fantastic. Absolutely. And I've learned so much with you. I mean, that's one of the great things about the coding, is it is exhausting. You wake up, quite often I wake up each morning and you're just like, oh my Lord, I've got another day of this. It's just like relentless, especially regarding the with COVID and stuff, because it's just like you're online, you've got to get going. But the learning is definitely a great aspect of it, isn't it? I think that's you are learning. There's a feeling of kind of growth, as you mentioned, which is very important. And a whole range of knowledge which I'd kind of missed at school. Unfortunately, I did maths to 16 or so, but it's just this huge kind of swathe of knowledge which I'd not really found out about. So that's been really, really good. I have got some mentors, if we're going to mention a chap called Adam Smolnik, who is a AWS hero, who is been very patient with me and kind of helping me to kind of improve my skills. He's quite interested in Python, and we've looked at a few applications that we've built together. Certainly with projects I've found quite a nice way to learn, but also it's quite nice with AWS in particular to have small tasks. I don't know how you feel about that, Brian, but it's quite useful to have like small tasks which you can achieve, and then you can kind of tick that off so that you can revise that. How do you feel? I mean, because certainly with my work, actually, they have this theory of katas. So like practice, like almost regimented practice of kind of revising certain, whether it's leap year kata or kind of a Mars rover, a bank kata. So you'd repeat that in different languages. So with AWS, there is that opportunity, isn't there, of kind of, you've got there's a limited amount of skills which you need to learn, I suppose, Brian. And that's like what we mentioned, wasn't it, at the start, in terms of S3, deploying EC2s, load balancers, data and databases. We've mentioned relational and non-relational databases. You've mentioned blockchain as well. That would be interesting to look at with AWS, wouldn't it? Some blockchain, bit of discovery there to actually. What's your background with blockchain? Have you done quite a lot with that then?
Yeah. I actually got into it not really knowing, again, not knowing what I was getting into. So I got this amazing opportunity to really run global communications for a VC fund. It was a $60 million AUM blockchain VC fund called AWSome Capital. And honestly, it was an amazing experience because I was just thrown into this global world of business development and tech. And we see now how, exciting and, just the growth of the blockchain industry, not really from a crypto side of things, but more from blockchain as a service, blockchain as a database, blockchain as a ledger. It's just expanding so rapidly now. And that was not really the case when I joined, because not a lot of people knew about it at the time. And I remember just being so inspired by the founder, Yubo, and his whole mission of really just decentralizing the internet and decentralizing the world of how we store our data and how we manage our information. And so I was running global communications from marketing to just marketing campaigns to communications to speaker engagements, really managing public relations, because that was my background, that was my wheelhouse. And it was just very, very cool because when I started talking to people, I had this really great story of how I was kind of told that we needed to get one of the portfolio companies basically in CNBC and in Forbes and in a whole bunch of media within basically 48 hours. And I was jumping on the phone with the CEO and their team just literally across the world in China. And I was like on Zoom or Google Meet, and we were actually, I think this was not Google Meet, this was WeChat actually. So I was like jumping on a call with them and hearing about, what CoinSuper was up to, because I was full of companies. And it was just so cool because talking with them, talking with IrisNet, talking with these other portfolio companies, DoraHacks, they were all sort of asking at the end of the day, like, do you want, like, you're really interested in tech? Like, do you want to know actually how a lot of these things work? And that's especially being a part of my company's culture. That was like, because we had like an internal, how like you build a company culture where you're innovative and you want to learn and you want to support and grow and like build alongside each other. I really appreciated that as a company culture, because that was really how I got inspired to want to learn a lot of this stuff in the first place. And then the portfolio companies and our team, they were sort of asking, oh, you're interested in this stuff, but do you really want to learn how it works? And I was like, I don't know. Do I want to learn how this stuff works? And they said, you might be really interested to see how this actually happens. So that was really where I started learning, not just the business side of blockchain, but then also from a development side of things. And then I did a nano degree program on blockchain development, became certified in that. And that was a lot of Bitcoin Core, Ethereum with Solidity, those types of protocols, or knowing how to build and write smart contracts and make those be able to communicate with each other. I actually ran some smart contracts and published to the Rinkeby testnet on the Ethereum protocol. So that was cool to be able to, take my computer and then send something, and then now it's on the blockchain. It can never be, taken off. It's always going to be there. And that was very cool to me. And I just liked how it encompassed working in venture capital, but then really moving into development. And that's really where like the founder, so he actually like came from the entrepreneur side and then went into VC. So I did a little bit of the reverse of going from the VC to development and building. But it's very interesting because even still, like when you're investing in companies, you're building alongside them, and then in development, you might be working with VCs or investors who are passionate about this space, and then they want to learn from you. So it's cool to see the interchange of communication. But yeah, that's my TED talk on that. But
that's brilliant. I mean, it is such an exciting area. I mean, even I think recently Elon Musk had put in $1 billion, hadn't he, to blockchain. So yeah, it's definitely.
I mean, it's like that's like a lot of
yeah.
hype, right? I mean, it's like, oh, it's going into Bitcoin, whatever. But I was explaining this to someone earlier. It's not and this is actually interesting for anyone that's into AWS, and I'm actually curious if anyone has the same thesis or the same idea. But I at a certain point, I don't really see, like, I mean, Bitcoin is a crypto, right? But it's not, in a sense, because it's the power of compute. So AWS credits are the power of compute. And you see the price of AWS credits, it's like one AWS credit is one, US dollar, or £1 or whatever the currency conversion is. But how, if you want to run, an AI model, that's infinitely much more expensive than it is to deploy something on an EC2 instance. It's completely different, and it's much more expensive. And I really see nowadays with blockchain, it's the power of compute. It's when you pay for something on the blockchain, you're paying for it to be stored and encrypted securely. You're paying for it to be computationally run and being able to be validated in real time. There's a lot of technologies that are at play, and it's not, and I know with Bitcoin, a lot of people get wrapped up into the price and into the, oh my gosh, it's going to moon. But like, there's also like Hyperledger Fabric, there's Corda, there's other permissioned private blockchains that don't have a crypto price associated with it, but it's still compute at the end of the day. So that's what's been really interesting to me, just exploring the space, is what does it take to actually manage a database? What does it take to manage a database with no one, to be completely autonomous? And we see that with self-driving cars, right? What's the cost of compute for a Tesla? What's the compute for what's Google at Waymo? I think that's their gosh, I'll have to check myself in the comments later. But Google has their own self-driving cars with their own compute, and they have Google Cloud Compute, right? So there's a lot of parts at play, but I see blockchain as, what does it take to actually pay for compute and storage and validation and authentication? And these are expensive services. So, in a sense, that's what fascinates me a lot about data and databases and blockchain and business intelligence specifically, because what does it take to manage your data and manage it effectively? These are topics that really are interesting, really to anyone. I mean, we all upload data to Facebook or Google or Amazon or any of the other, websites, right? And they're using data and they're querying that and then giving you back results. Netflix, for example, right? How does Netflix know, what you want to watch next? It's they have this thing of, 98%. Well, that's because 98% of people that typically watch what you watch also watch these things. So that's where the power of compute becomes very interesting and very powerful, because then you can, even with medicine, right? If you know that a certain person with a certain genetic makeup has a propensity for a certain type of reaction to a certain medication, you could then, I mean, and this is not medical advice, I'm not a medical practitioner, but the idea of it is, if you can take this data and then query it and parse it, you can then create actionable responses based upon that. So at least for me, I'm definitely going to be learning a lot more about AI, machine learning in this new year, because it's such an evolving field and it's very cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. Your last point about medical data, because that's relatively live issue in America, isn't it? With Obama's reforms, perhaps, and that people have access to their data. Is that something that has been explored with blockchain? This kind of ownership of your own data and ability to access it safely.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a challenge, but also an opportunity, because with so like with HIPAA, for example, with healthcare records, that's honestly, it's really for the best, because it ensures that data can be properly stored and permissioned, and not anyone can just get access to healthcare data, right? Because that's personal data. as personal private information.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes with, I'd say with blockchain, one of those opportunities, but also challenges is how could you create a system that works with HIPAA, but that maybe works outside of an electronic health record. So an EHR, that's sort of the ongoing debate right now of how would that system actually work.
Yeah. So definitely not a solved problem.
Yeah, I mean, does London have similar data conversations?
Yeah. Well, I think in UK it's slightly different because we've still got a relatively public system, so it's not so. Yeah, maybe I think definitely data is important, especially regarding all this debate about testing, and it will be live, won't it, with with the need to have some kind of proof of having been tested for COVID, I presume. So that could be an interesting project, couldn't it? I suppose. So yeah, watch this space. We'll have to think about something with blockchain. Definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, starting smaller. I mean, the projects I've been mainly doing is just like, as I say, just simpler kind of transfer of data. But I think it's that there are so many resources that AWS gives you access to, and that's partly what we're going to do, isn't it? That's what we're going to try and talk about, is some of the announcements, because that's we're on the Slack channel, and we see them every day, don't we? I mean, there's almost, you're almost immune to it. There's almost 2 or 3 a day being announced. Are you able to kind of tell when those are announced? Do you get a sense straight away of kind of, this is, are you able to kind of draw the dots at all when with all these new service announcements, or because there's quite a lot, isn't there? So are you becoming more comfortable with the range of services, or do you think that's always there's always new ones popping up, aren't there?
Oh yeah, I think yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, a lot of where I've been sort of coached is you can't know everything, so you kind of have to stick in your lane. So when they add features or they add integration or new services related to certain AWS solutions, that's when it's like, oh, it can do this. Oh, that's cool. Oh, they're adding this. They're thinking about the growth of this. That's definitely interesting. There definitely are services and solutions that I'm not as familiar with, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna like explore that and look into that later. So it kind of gives, I think, room for both. It's people that you really want to learn, but then also see how are the solutions that they're working on evolving, and how quickly is this space evolving, right? I mean, it's pretty fascinating. But I'm amazed at how often it messages in the Slack. It's like every day there's like multiple announcements, which is pretty cool. To just be at the center of that innovation. Because I know I've just been mentored by a lot of the AWS leaders, and I've learned so much. I'm sure you can speak to that as well, just the mentorship and the growth of being, within such an expansive space.
Definitely. I mean, that came out of the reInvent in December as well, didn't it, really? This kind of sense that cloud has got a long way to go. I think it was Werner Vogels, who's, if I say it correctly, that he seemed to suggest that in his speech, that although cloud is absolutely owning it now, we've just started to see AWS appearing in the news now as well, haven't we? Because I think it was quite quiet, wasn't it? I don't think there was so much about AWS actually in the news, but now it is becoming much more mainstream, certainly with the background to how AWS powers a lot of the applications that we're using now as well, doesn't it? So that's another aspect of the cloud. But the amount of services to explore is exciting. What would be your first project? I mean, if you had all the time in the world, what would be the first project that you'd start with, would you say? Would it be a blockchain project then? If you had any resources at your disposal and any amount of time?
That's hard.
spring that on you?
I mean, I think it would be a serverless application. It
Mm-hmm.
would use AI, and maybe it would use blockchain in a sense, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm really fascinated with the AWS suite. I like that's really what I'm going to be investing a lot of time in this year is learning and building within that. I Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if I could build anything, what I would love to be able to do is build really something that is able to take genetic data and then build you like AI medicine. I think that that would be the coolest technology and the most helpful because I mean, if anyone wants to collab on this, I mean, please reach out. I mean, I just see that that's where it's going. I remember being so inspired learning about the Human Genome Project, and this goes back to grade school,
Mm.
and how they were basically taking all of this human genetic material and then mapping it, and that really got me thinking about like, oh, okay, so these are Lego building blocks. Could you use those Lego building blocks and then create medicine off of that? And
Mm.
then now you're basically creating customized, tailored medicine to the person. And it's kind of similar to like with like a baseball cap. That this started like years ago where they started saying like one size fits all. And then the ongoing joke is like, okay, but like not everyone has the same shaped head. So like there's not a one size fits all for hats. And I think for medicine, oftentimes, I mean, like we laugh at this because it's true. Like, I don't know, maybe I have like a bigger head than someone else and the hat doesn't fit me. And it's like, okay, can I like not wear hats now? So it's oftentimes with medicine, I think there are often, I mean, and there's so much work that goes into actually creating medicine with clinical trials and standards and procedures, of course. But if there's a way, for us to be able to, I don't know, take like a blood prick, or they just know your health data. Maybe that's what's on the blockchain, right? And they could go to the lab and use and query. Maybe they're using, AWS SageMaker or another one of those
Mm.
tools, or the data is in Athena, and then they're querying that. If they were able to basically take that data and then create a customized medicine regime for you, that could revolutionize how healthy we all are as humans. So that's really like I mean, if you want to go down the rabbit hole, that's really where I would want to go. And that's the thing, right? There's an AI component, maybe there's a blockchain component, maybe there's I don't know, some sort of Lambda functions that are writing certain things. But yeah, if I had unlimited resources and unlimited time, I would be really interested in seeing if I could make that happen.
Wow. Yeah. No, it's definitely sounds fascinating. So
What about you? I
something
mean, I'm
to.
curious because you have quite a big building innovative background. So yeah, I'm curious, like if you had unlimited resources and time and just the ability to do anything. I'm just curious, Tom, what would you do?
I think I'd probably invent a money tree maybe or something like that.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
But no,
sign me up. I'm ready.
no, unlimited resources. Definitely, I think I've got to start small for myself. I'll stick with the certainly serverless, and I am interested in the AI and blockchain aspects. One thing I was thinking more recently is just like something that would find information on the internet, then kind of allocate in a precise way so that you could then use that to make your own articles. That would be pretty cool. So kind of like try and avoid, you'd be skating so close to plagiarism, but you'd have to be quite careful. But something that would get information from articles and then kind of present them, collect relevant articles for you choose a topic which you want to write about, and then it would collect all of the relevant articles, maybe something like that. But
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, that'd be quite good fun. Perhaps something we can work on.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, well, it's been a pleasure, Brian. We've had a great first chat, and it was unscripted as well, so that's been fantastic, really, just to hear about your interests with blockchain, etc. I've definitely got the book, but I haven't even started it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
From Pact, they make such great content. I got at a hackathon, my team came in first in this AI category, and Pact gave us like a ton of books. So I'm actually looking to learn and just use their resources. I mean, they make amazing content, but we should talk about blockchain and data at some point, because it's definitely really fascinating.
A lot to look at there, so try and revise that, definitely.
Another book for your collection.
So much to read about, so much. But definitely blockchain and we'll perhaps explore that in a future episode. And yeah, I mean, our plans coming up, Brian, what are our thoughts? We're focusing on more of focused on solutions. As we mentioned at the beginning, we've got announcements. We're going to talk about walkthroughs of solutions, build it with you projects, and also talking about the community and some of the things developed by AWS. So we'll make an announcement in the next week or so about our next topic, won't we? And we'll start to build it from there. But blockchain definitely on the list. And we have got a few guests as well, haven't we? A few mystery guests who we've got in the pipeline.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited about that. I think the most. Yeah.
No, that's going to be great. So we'll be speaking to some people to share with you guys some of the things we've learned from our mentors and people who are supporting in the community.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a really nice way to also, from a selfish point of view, for us to learn more about AWS ourselves as well, isn't it? A way of exploring and learning that way. So good.
Oh, absolutely. We can even talk about like certifications and the case for that. I was just on a podcast talking about the Google Cloud Practitioner, or not, sorry, the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam, not Google. But yeah, so just with that exam, right? I mean, that's sort of the fundamental layers. And then that sort of started having conversations because people were saying, oh, I want to take AWS certifications and I want to learn how, what's the case for this? Like, do I need one? And it's sort of, you can go down the rabbit hole of like, how many certifications do you need and what do you need to do? And I really like how AWS divides them up into certain categories. So cloud practitioner is the bottom, and then there's developer, there's architect, there's SysOps, there's ML, there's different areas that you can secure, like SecOps, right? Security operations or DevSecOps. Like, it's cool how they cluster it into certain categories. So you as a developer evolve and you build and then you sort of scale. So
yeah,
it'll be helpful for people to hear that.
I'd agree, because that is like the first. I mean, there are other exams for other areas of tech, aren't there? But it is really quite a nice kind of way to follow it through with the exams.
Exactly.
Definitely. So the cloud practitioner, great, because you passed that relatively. So you've got some experience with that. With congratulations on passing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of studying. It like brought me back to like school, and I was like, oh, this is why I didn't really like midterms and finals, because exam is stressful, right? But it was like, it worked out. I mean, it actually taught me quite a lot of just different ways of thinking about things and different best practices. So even if you like think you have a handle on something, those exams can really be a check to make sure that you're on that right path to know things and build and grow. And it's, you sort of learn, right? There's going to be stuff that you just don't know yet, so you have to continue building and continue learning. So it's hard, it's not easy, but it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I've put mine off twice now, so I've got mine on the 26th of February. Still a bit kind of
good luck.
Yeah, thank
You're
you.
Crush it for sure.
Yeah. I've got the A Cloud Guru. I've been doing a couple of the labs on there, so that's quite good. Yeah, it's a good.
Oh my God, Julie would love that. Did you tell Julie that you have a Cloud Guru? Because she's in the
I haven't.
program.
Yes, I must. I'll try and get some advice from her. I've looked at a couple of the labs there. I've done the IAMS lab and the there's an EC2 one, load balancer with a virtual private cloud as well. So that was quite good looking at that. Taking a few days off as well, just to prepare for this exam. So
totally.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I took it over the holiday break because that was like worked out for me. But yeah, definitely make sure that you like allot time, because it's you don't want to have to like distract yourself. And then I think after I took that exam, it was like the evening time, and I just like passed out. I was so tired. I was like spent all of my energy taking that exam, and then I was like,
Yeah, no, it's quite a challenge, definitely. But useful, as you say, like, start with the cloud practitioner, then maybe do the developer, and that's a good basis, isn't it? And then you
Absolutely.
can move on from there to some of the more professional exams as well.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, next, looking forward to the next episode. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited.
Stuff,
And
guys.
if anyone wants to comment or reach out to us, please let us know what you thought. Even too, I mean, we're just starting this out, so this is not, you know, a Hollywood production, right? We are just building this and seeing where we can scale this. So if there's topics that you're interested in, if there's people that you want us to interview or talk with, you know, please reach out to us. If any of you want to be a part of it and we could talk about a cool topic in tech or DevOps, AWS cloud, what have you, you know, please help be a part of this. We're excited to see where we can grow this. So ahead.
Definitely looking forward to it.
And Tom, you're the one who actually created this group from the beginning, because you were the one who posted the first Slack message, and then I reached out to you, and then we had a whole bunch of people. So
yeah, I'm
this
so
is kind of
lucky.
you started all of this.
I'm so lucky to be. Yeah, it's great. It's brilliant to be with you, Brian. It's always a pleasure, honestly. So
pleasure's likewise too. Awesome.
Good stuff. All right then. All right, Brian. So we'll have a chat afterwards. See how we've got on.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah. All right then. I'll speak to you later.
All right. I'll catch you later.
Catch you later.
Talk soon.
See you later. Bye.